What if you retired with $1 million, or $2 million, or $5 million? Here's the thing almost nobody tells you, and it's the gap I want you to sit with for the next 20 minutes. The math the textbooks teach about how much those portfolios can spend, and the amount real retirees actually spend, are not the same number. They're not even close. And if you're 55 or older, with anywhere from a couple $100,000 to $2 million put away, a paid-off house or close to it, and Social Security either already turning on or still out ahead of you, this gap is the single biggest thing standing between the retirement you could have and the one you're quietly settling for. One household that could comfortably support roughly $70,000 a year of spending was living on about 55. Same portfolio, same Social Security check. The difference was one piece of understanding nobody ever handed them. I'm Eric, and today I want to walk through the spending levels the math says these portfolios can support, and the much lower spending levels the research says retirees actually choose. And the gap between those two numbers is the whole video. Stay with me, because the math and the reality are not the same number, and I'm going to show you both. This video is for educational purposes only and is not tax or financial advice. Talk to a qualified professional before making any decision about your specific situation. My name is Eric, and this is Retirement Plan with Eric. Every week on this channel, I break down the tax rules, the retirement traps, and the strategies that nobody else is bothering to explain in plain English. If that's what you came here for, hit the subscribe button right now and turn on notifications, because the next video could be the one that puts thousands of dollars back in your pocket. Here's what's coming. First, the framework. A two-bucket withdrawal strategy that almost every serious planner uses, but almost no retiree has had explained to them at the kitchen table. Then, the real numbers on 3 different portfolios, 1 million, 2 million, and 5 million, walked through dollar by dollar. Then the pivot, the part where I show you what households at those exact wealth levels are actually spending, and why it's roughly half of what the math allows. And finally, the 4 reasons this happens, and the 5-item checklist that fixes it before it costs you the retirement you earned. Let me set up who we're talking about, because I want this to be honest. The household I'm about to walk you through is a composite based on common situations in the J.P. Morgan Chase Asset Management household spending data, not a real client. Picture Robert, age 60, just retired, planning to claim Social Security at his full retirement age of 67. And that full retirement age of 67 is not a number I'm guessing at. For anyone born in 1960 or later, the Social Security Administration sets full retirement age at 67, the age where you collect 100% of your benefit. Claim earlier, as early as 62, and that benefit is permanently reduced. So Robert has a 7-year gap to bridge, from 60 to 67, where no Social Security is coming in, and the portfolio has to carry 100% of the load. That gap is the hardest part of any early retirement, and it's exactly what the 2-bucket strategy is built to solve. Here's how it works. You split the money into 2 buckets. The first is a bridge bucket. Short-duration treasuries, T-bills, money market funds, the boring stuff that doesn't lose value when the market drops. That bucket covers the years before Social Security begins. The second is a growth bucket, diversified equities, the money you leave alone to grow because you won't touch it for years. The bridge bucket is your defense against what happens if the market crashes in your first few years of retirement, the single most dangerous window in a retiree's life, when selling stocks at a loss to pay the bills can permanently cripple a portfolio. The bridge bucket means you never have to sell stocks in a down market to eat. Now let me show you what this looks like in real numbers, because the rule on paper and the rule in your kitchen are 2 very different things. Scenario 1. Robert, the $1 million portfolio. He carves out $350,000 into the bridge bucket and leaves $650,000 in the growth bucket. For the 7 bridge years, he pulls roughly $70,000 a year from that bridge bucket to live on. Now, $70,000 on a $1 million portfolio is a 7% withdrawal rate. And I can already hear some of you, because the famous rule, the one William Bengen published in the Journal of Financial Planning back in 1994, the rule that says 4% is the safe number, that rule would scream that 7% is reckless. And here's the part that changes everything. It isn't reckless, because it's temporary. And it's coming out of the safe bucket, not the growth bucket. When Robert turns 67 and Social Security switches on at roughly $35,000 a year, that benefit takes over a huge chunk of the income floor. Now the portfolio only has to produce the difference, and the withdrawal rate on what's left drops to somewhere around 3.5%, comfortably under Bengen's 4. So watch what happened. The scary 7% was never the real long-term number. It was a bridge, and the bridge ends. Here's the rule I want you to internalize, and it's the opposite of what most people assume. The hardest years of a retirement are the bridge years, before Social Security begins. The math gets easier after the income floor turns on, not harder. Most people brace for retirement to get scarier as they age. Financially, for the income side of the equation, it's the reverse. And here's loop number 2, the one I'll come back to. I'll show you whether retirees actually take advantage of that easier math once the floor turns on. Most do not. Hold that thought. If you're still with me, the next 90 seconds are the most important in this video, because this is where most people stop paying attention and start leaving money on the table. Let me close that bridge years loop and scale this up. Scenario 2, a married couple, both retiring at 60, $2 million. The household I'm about to describe is a composite from that same J.P. Morgan Chase asset management spending data, not a real client. They build a bigger bridge bucket, around $700,000, and leave the rest to grow. Their combined Social Security at 67 comes to roughly $65,000 a year. Run the same two-bucket math, and the portfolio supports somewhere around $130,000 a year of spending. And one caveat I'll say once, and mean for every number in this video. Every one of these figures assumes federal taxes and a particular Social Security claiming age. State income taxes change the supportable number, sometimes by a lot. Every state is different. Check yours. Scenario 3. The $5 million household. A married couple, dual high earners, both stepping away at 60. Their combined Social Security at 67 lands near $80,000 a year. The bridge bucket here scales up to something like $1.5 to $2 million. The growth bucket sits around $3 to $3.5 million, and the supportable spending runs from $250,000 to $325,000 a year, with about $275,000 as a fair working number. Once Social Security kicks in, their portfolio withdrawal rate drops toward 4% or even lower. So let me put all three side by side so you can feel the weight of it. $1 million supports roughly $70,000 a year. $2 million supports roughly $125,000 to $140,000. $5 million supports roughly $250,000 to $325,000. That's the math. That's the textbook. But here's the part I want you to sit with for a minute. And it's the loop I opened at the very start. Most retirees who actually have portfolios at these levels are not spending anything close to those numbers. Now here's the part that changes everything. And I'll be honest with you. When I first looked at this data, the gap between what the math allows and what households actually spend was larger than I'd expected. The J.P. Morgan Chase asset management research, built on de-identified spending records from millions of households, tracks what real retirees spend by age, and it also cuts the data by how much those households have invested. When you look at the band that matches most of the audience for this video, households holding $1 to $2 million in investable assets, the pattern is striking. Average annual spending for those households between ages 60 and 64 sits around $94,000, and it doesn't climb with inflation the way the planning models assume. it steadily declines. From 65 to 69, it slips to about 84,000. From 70 to 74, around 76,000. From 75 to 79, about 71,000. And once those households reach their 80s, average spending falls to roughly 66 to 67,000. The expensive years are early. Spending drifts down steadily across every 5-year window, and the pattern holds for higher wealth bands too, with higher starting numbers and the same downward slope. That's reason number 1 this gap exists: age-related spending decline. And it's a well-documented pattern across every wealth band. Then there's the deeper finding, the one from David Blanchett and Michael Fink. Their research shows retirees treat $1 of guaranteed income, Social Security, a pension, and annuity, as something to spend freely. But they treat $1 of portfolio savings as almost untouchable. The size of it is stunning. Their work found that retirees will spend roughly twice as much from guaranteed income as they will from an equal amount of invested assets. In other words, $1 locked in a portfolio generates about half the spending of $1 of guaranteed income. Half. So the 4% the math says you can pull, the typical retiree behaves more like 2% on their portfolio. Here's where the trap closes. Put those two findings together and look at the side-by-side reality. The 1 million household whose math says 70,000 is realistically spending 55 to 75. The 2 million household whose math says 125 to 145 is spending more like 90 to 125. And the 5 million household whose math supports 275 to 325 is often spending 140 to 180. That's not a rounding error. On the 5 million household, that's well over $100,000 a year of life, of travel, of time with grandchildren, of the things they spent 40 years saving for, simply not happening. And if you're sitting at your kitchen table thinking this doesn't apply to you, listen carefully to the next minute. Because there are 4 reasons this happens, and at least one of them is probably you. Reason 1. Psychological framing. Guaranteed income feels like a paycheck you're allowed to spend, and your portfolio feels like a nest egg you're not allowed to crack. Reason 2. The age-related decline we just covered. Reason 3. The lifelong saver problem. If you built your wealth by being disciplined, by not spending, then flipping that switch from saving to spending after 40 years is genuinely, deeply hard. The very habit that made you wealthy now works against you. And reason 4. Long-term care anxiety. Many higher net worth households quietly hold back a large cushion against an uncertain late-life care cost they can't predict. And that fear, reasonable as it is, freezes capital that could be funding their actual life right now. Here is your action checklist for this week. 1. Figure out the annual cost of the life you actually want, not the highest balance you could possibly build. Write down the real number, the one that covers your travel, your home, your people. That number, not your portfolio total, is what you're planning toward. 2. On a single sheet of paper, separate your guaranteed income from your portfolio-only income, because the research is clear that you'll treat them differently, so you'd better see them differently on paper before they fool you in your gut. 3. If you're retiring before Social Security begins, model the bridge years separately, the way we did for Robert. Map out exactly how many years until your benefit turns on, and how much safe money it takes to cover them. 4. Revisit your bucket allocation every 12 to 18 months, because sequence of returns risk, the danger of a bad market early on, is highest in your first 5 years, and the bridge bucket is what protects you through that window. 5. And this is the one most of you need to hear. If your portfolio is consistently outgrowing your spending year after year, sit down and ask whether the next dollar you save would actually change a single day of your life. Because if it wouldn't, that dollar has a better job to do. And before you act on any of this, here's my disclaimer, and I mean it. I am not a financial planner, a CPA, or a tax advisor. The numbers in this video are the math the rules produce in the average case, and the math your situation produces will be different. Take this video to your CPA or your financial planner and ask them to walk through the bridge and growth buckets with your actual numbers. So let me run the gap one more time, because this is the sentence that matters. Same household, same age, same portfolio. The math on a $2 million portfolio says $125,000 to $140,000 a year of spending is fully supportable. The behavior of the typical household at that level says $90,000 to $125,000. That gap, year after year, compounded across a 30-year retirement, is the difference between the life you pictured and the life you settled for. And it isn't caused by the market or the tax code. It's caused by not knowing your own number. To help you find it, I've put together a one-page, two-bucket spending worksheet. You enter your portfolio total, your expected Social Security benefit, the number of bridge years until it begins, and your target annual spending. And it shows you your bridge bucket size, your growth bucket size, your initial withdrawal rate, and your post-Social Security withdrawal rate. It's free, it takes about 5 minutes, and it turns this whole video into your actual numbers. It's in the link in the description. This is Eric, and this has been Retirement Plan with Eric. If this video helped you, hit the like button right now. It takes 1 second, it costs you nothing, and it tells the algorithm to push this out to more retirees who need to hear it. If you're not subscribed yet, hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. And if you know someone planning their retirement income or quietly wondering whether they actually have enough, send them this video today. Because the questions to ask are sitting right there in the description, and it might be the most useful 5 minutes you give them all year. We started with 3 portfolio sizes, 1 million, 2 million, and 5 million. And you now have both numbers, the math the textbooks teach and the spending the research actually finds. And that gap is what your retirement plan should be built around. Next week, Episode 8. We walk through what your housing costs do when one spouse needs care and the other does not. If you have a parent in their 70s or older, or a spouse you're planning for, do not miss it. So here's my question for the comments, and I read every single one. Are you someone who finds it easy to spend from your savings, or does cracking into that nest egg make you genuinely uncomfortable, even when the math says you've earned it? Tell me yes or no, because the most common answers become future videos. I will see you in the next.